Okay, we've got the new version of The Way Men Heal. Just came in, and then I'm eager for you to tell us what are the upgrades. Do, 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 do. There it is,
Nice, nice cover.
with a beautiful, beautiful new cover. Extraordinary. And beautiful back as well.
Looks
Oh,
at
that
Martin
looks like a
Brunson
quote.
back there.
That's a quote from Martin Brossman. But one of your greatest contributions to make this a easy read. And I've recommended this to so many people. First, tell people if they don't know what the book is, then tell how you decided to upgrade it. And
I worked with men in grief for years and years and years, and I realized at the time that what men really wanted was something that was short and concise and told them what the hell was going on and how the hell they could get out of it. I mean, and other people, how other people could help too. So that's why I wrote that book, and I kept it as short as I possibly could, in order to make it easy to digest, but also enough in there so that people would get a sense of what's going on. And I really liked the little book. I mean, it's a good little book, and it's got a lot in there. And the second edition now is all the research that's been done since the first edition came out, that is on that really backs up the kind of clinical observations that I've been making. So there's things like precarious manhood, things like moral typecasting, the testosterone research, all those things are rolled into that book. And the book also has links, the Kindle book has links to other outside resources that will help you understand even more. That would, if I'd included those, it wouldn't be such a short book, But so I did that in order to give people opportunity to look at stuff if they wanted to.
and you went for a different cover that I think kind of evolve. It's sort of like the letting the brand evolve is what I teach in marketing. This to me speaks more of the experience. Not that the first cover wasn't good,
Right.
but this one I think is richer and it wraps around as well. Talk about the design of the cover.
Well, the guy on the beach walking alone. I mean, that says a lot right there, that a lot of times men will process their emotions in solitude and by themselves. And so, I thought, what a better way to do it than to have a guy walking up a beach. Because men will walk for a mile on the beach and they'll process as they go. They'll come back and they feel different then. Things have been taken care of. It's kind of a masculine trick, a Jedi trick, where we know how to process this stuff as we're walking along, or some men will do it as they're driving. Some men will do it as they're golfing. I mean, it doesn't matter where. It's just a matter of processing the emotion as you are doing something else, and that is it's harmonious with the man's way of being. Is just being like that instead of, "How are you feeling today?" It's like that's not the best question for men.
Talk a little bit about re-editing it, because you just didn't go. I mean, you went through every page
Yeah,
and kind of soul searched. Was there a different wording or something else because talked about it?
yeah. I wanted it to flow really smoothly, and I think my writing's gotten a little bit better since then. The AI help has also improved it greatly. So I think it reads really well now, and I think it's a good little book. Good little book. And if you get the Kindle version, you get not just the text itself, but also all the links to the different kinds of stuff that's out there. It's just it's amazing. One of the links goes to the Understanding Men section of my Substack, which is basically uh 12, 13 different essays and videos on what is masculine psychology. What is masculinity? How does it work? Where does it start? And there's been so much research done, Martin, so much research, and people don't know about it because the media doesn't tell you anything about it.
Mhm.
And it's so that little section in my Substack will tell you about it, and it'll tell you what the research is out there, and how that impacts on our understanding of men and the way they are. Because really, when people understand men, uh, the whole idea of men being toxic just get thrown out the window. Because
Yeah, and I
it's a
see the
silly
going
idea.
deeper. Isn't that an
Yes,
addition
that's
to
a
it?
section. It's in print in the paperback,
Yeah,
but in the Kindle, all those are hyperlinks.
right,
So you can just click
right,
on them and boom, you'll go to that other
right.
resource.
That's fantastic. And it looks like there's more references back here than before. Have they been
Couple
updated
more,
too? So
couple more.
this could be excellent for someone wanting to get into this to do research, a student or someone as
Sure.
well.
Oh yeah.
and building it.
Yep.
For people aren't as familiar with the concept, would you just share it, because it's been so profound in my life, from taking care of my parents to losing both of them and then passing on, and I've shared how it also added to my book Taboo: The Lost Codes of Men. I mean,
Mm.
it's the cornerstone, and also just seeing how men heal differently for relating to them, as in my life, has been tremendous.
Men have a very different way. And of course, I found that out when I first started working with men years and years ago, because it wasn't things I'd been taught in school were good for females, but not so good for males. And so it took me a number of years to figure out, oops, what am I doing wrong? And slowly but slowly, I figured it out. And that little book encapsulates all that stuff that I learned, all the bumps and bruises that I went through. It kind of talks about those things too, that things that I happened upon, like the cross-cultural research that showed that men in these indigenous groups will almost always grieve through task, always grieve through doing something. They're given tasks to do
Hmm.
that brings that emotion out, and they give women a place to emote, a place to be together and to emote. So, the more we learn about men, the more we learn about the differences in the ways we process things, the easier it is to love them for who they are.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I thinking of a story of a friend that lost his wife, and
Mhm,
due to your work in the book, he knew she was dying of a long-term illness, and
mhm,
we were talking about it, and he was talking about facing the fact that he knows she's going to pass at some point,
right,
and I said, "What are you going to do to honor her life?"
right,
And
good,
he just lit up and he said, my wife knows that I love drumming. It was not his
oh,
livelihood, but it was passion. And he worked with her to transform the dining room, which they really didn't need because of her health and stuff,
right,
into this drum studio while she was alive.
nice,
And he said, I'd like to, he didn't say this, this is how I want to honor you. I'm sure the conversation was, I think I'd like to transform the dining room into a studio for drumming. And he had a wonderful, either upgraded or had an electronic kit. I think he upgraded it, and he transformed it, but she gave input into it while
nice,
she was alive.
nice,
And he has records around, and I've seen it, and it's his own honoring of her and his own little space,
yes,
and
yes,
it was so beautiful. She has passed on, and he's doing quite well considering all that occurred, and the
yes,
challenges, and
and
that's,
that's
to me, came from your work. That's why
well,
this is such a must read for mothers, fathers, everything else. I mean, you get a little sample it out of my book, but I even reference this in it as well.
well, thank you. Yeah, it's important for men to know that honoring is usually a part of their processing. And what does the honoring do? It brings meaning to the grief. Like his drumming, it brought meaning to it. He knew his wife was connected to that drumming stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And so when he'd do it, he would honor her by doing that. That brought meaning to the grief. That makes the story a part of ourselves, not something that's outside that's beating on us.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want to be able to bring that story in so that our story is within us, not outside clobbering.
People might have heard this before, but I want to share my own experience when my father passed, who passed first. He passed in DC, and they put him at a holding place. And I said, hold him. I'm coming up. And they said, you sure? I said, yeah. It says, well, it's a warehouse. I said, no, I just feel I need to see his body not
Yeah.
alive.
Yep. Yep.
And to me, this is all related to it. And I remember going to that. It was very emotional, but going to it and spending some time. They, a little room, they put him there, they put him out of the whatever the holding was. And before he was shipped to Pennsylvania, where he ultimately was buried on the Brossman plot that exists. And so that was an important piece. And then also, I had a great conversation with the a funeral director, and I said, I want to know everything you're doing to him. And he says, really? And I said, yeah, as though there was a time when men did that stuff.
Right. Exactly.
And it was really, he was like lit up. I mean, who would care about this? I mean, I say I can handle things that are kind of strange, and I have kind of a scientific mind, but and he went through the whole process, which I'm not going to explain, but it was really important to hear it as though I had been part of it. And then he says, well, we can either get formal pallbearers, or if you have enough guys, we'll get them to do it. And I said, no, I want us to do it. I still get choked up of the picture someone took of us carrying that casket and moving it. And the same thing with my mother when it occurred. The one thing was she loved blue, and I paid extra to make sure it was blue. But I did record them because I wanted people who couldn't get there, but also for me.
Right. Right.
And the importance of facing it and speaking. And it sure wasn't comfortable. I mean,
Right.
but all of that, now that they're gone, I'm so grateful that I faced those little uncomfortableness that occurred. Every step of the way, there was like something uncomfortable
Yep.
to do. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm excited to do this.
Yep.
I said, I feel in my gut, trusting what do I need to do to be complete. And I'm so grateful that it was very disruptive when he first passed in DC. They treat it like a crime scene. The caregivers almost quit completely from it. It was so horrible. And so then I had talked, once I knew that, when my mother, uh, after that, I said to my friend Ferris, who I've known since kindergarten, I said, when they pass, I'm going to have the caregivers call you first, then the hospital. Would you come over? He said, just count on it. So that's another way of men supporting each other.
Yeah.
And that's what happened when she passed. They called Ferris, and he was there like that. And then I said, please put the whoever's in charge on the phone. And I said, when my father passed, it was the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard in my life. If there's anything I can do, just the way they immediately treat it like a crime scene and everyone's guilty in DC. Okay. I said, if there's anything I can do to make this more of a compassionate space, I take full responsibility. I'm the son. Please keep me involved. It changed. And I think I reached in and spoke to him, and I really wouldn't have done that without some of this core wisdom. Do you see that rippled through other things? So
Good.
I moved from that, and I'm
Mm.
so grateful. But I think it's so critical for mothers, for fathers, for anyone, relationships, everything.
Yeah, there's a section in the back on how to help men, and it helps moms to be able to understand what they can do to help, because moms generally don't have any clue. They don't know what to do. They figure they need to talk about his feelings, and that's not going to cut it, ma. So
And they want to. They're open to it.
yes,
They care. They want to do something. They want to make a difference. And
exactly.
my story that's in my book, which is related to yours, I'll share is this one friend that helped out. His wife said to me, because she knew of the two of us, I'm just more emotional of the two. And she says, he never grieved his father. And I said, yes, he did. And she said, what do you mean? Like I've been here all along. And I said, what has he done instead? And she said, he completely re-landscaped the entire backyard. Okay. And then I said, where did Ferris play with his father? And I know I welled up emotionally. I think she did too. And I went, that's his grieving.
Yep. Yep.
And you see, if you don't know that, you'll be pushing for the feelings
That's it.
instead
That's it,
of
baby.
respecting there's a difference. I kind of say in the testosterone based creatures versus
Yes,
the
it's true.
estrogen, because it's not, you've taught, it's not black and white. It's not like we're all one
No,
way.
but it is dark gray and light gray.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there is a difference, and testosterone does make a difference. It pushes men to strive for status,
Yeah.
not to get aggressive and violent, but to strive for status. And that status pushes us in a different direction than it does women.
Such an important book. All right. Well, recommend it. If you haven't got it, buy it. It's affordable. It's worth every penny. Worth mint double, triple the pennies. And now, have you chosen to make an audio version for it? Because
It's already out. The audio
okay,
is already out.
so I did that with mine. The digital audio, it makes it very accessible
Yes.
quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it took just moments time.
Because some of us do better listening to something than
Yes,
reading it.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Keep doing
you,
the
Mark.
work. And thanks for all your contribution to my book, Taboo, The Lost Codes of Men.
Thank you.
And also just take a moment and mention the wonderful book you made for mothers raising sons, because that's another one I'm so grateful you did.
Yeah, the mother's book is close to my heart because, I realized years ago that there was a lot of single mothers out there who didn't have dads in the home, who didn't know how to deal with boys. They just didn't know that. Why? Because women don't grow up as boys, they grow up as girls. They know all about girls, but they don't know much about boys because they never were one. And so I wrote the book for these women, basically to help them see that boys and girls are different, and how can you use that unique difference to help you be a parent? What are the ways that you can use it to smooth things out, you know? And like discipline stuff and telling stories and playing, and there's all kinds of sections in the book that help moms experiment and learn to do things a little bit differently with the boys and see what happens, I like it.
And tell them the name of the book.
Helping mothers be closer to their sons.
Oh, that's pretty clear. Yeah. And I just want to say, in the years of leading men's discussion groups and men's work and stuff, I would have mothers call me, both married and single mothers. And the quote was, I know how to fight with my daughter. I have no roadmap for my son. I must have heard that 100 times, some version of that.
Right.
I don't know where to start. And
Right.
that's why I'm so grateful you have this book out there, and read it, absorb it, and do it. And also want to state, I've learned that a lot of mothers have just so much guilt and feelings that they didn't do it right and everything else, that sometimes I think it might even get away, keep them from having access to this book. And to me, this book is a very compassionate way, that's not about you did something wrong and here what it is.
Right.
It's about where you are now and the difference you can make. And so I just want to make sure, if you have any of that unconsciously in you and your mom, get this book.
It's very similar actually to the way men heal, in that you're looking at how can I better understand boys in order to treat them in a more loving way.
Yeah.
And unless we understand someone, we really can't treat them in a loving way.
Right.
We've got to understand them first and then go from there.
Excellent. Beautiful. Wonderful book. Check it out. I'll put the links below, including the other, and of course, my latest one, and highly recommend it. And when you get value, I'm going to say, make the effort to write a review and share it with 3 people. That's what I have to say.
That'd be good.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Martin.